What I find fascinating was that you were 11 years old and you have this experience. And I just had a thought in my mind that when you are 11, you are maybe much more open to receive guidance, perhaps because maybe the ego and the analytical mind is not as strong. Although you are, like it is said, like Bruce Lipton talks about that when you are 0 to 7 years old, we are like sponges. We
Yeah.
are just like taking in everything the adults are saying, and we're not analytical about it. We look at the adults as gods, but still, right before you become a teen, also you are, open to sort of suggestions. So maybe, that's part of it, because like when we are adults, our ego is so critical, saying, oh, this is just my ego. This is probably nothing. And the other thing I was thinking about or curious about is whether we all have supernatural abilities.
Yes.
Because I feel that some of us, or some people I've interviewed, have really strong abilities, and they often tell me that their grandmother had this ability, their mother, that it's in their ancestral line. And I'm curious about that with you as well. So it seemed like, some are talented in certain things and some are not. So that's why I'm a bit confused. Like, do we all have them, or maybe some have some stronger abilities like yourself than others?
Well, it's like I said just a little bit ago, nobody's left out, nothing's missing. We all chose which one of the top 5 Clairs, we chose which ones correlated with the curriculum that we pre-agreed to. If it's self-love, if it's, having a partner, if it is whatever the curriculum is that we agreed to come to, our top 5 Clairs and those dominant ones will be the superpower. So you come in that way. There's no question. You come in that way. Just like I mentioned, I was planting a seed. I already knew I wasn't loved. I already knew there wasn't unconditional love. So how did I know that other than feeling it, the clairsentience? So what happens is that you are communicating naturally through the 5 senses, and you don't even know it. If you don't know what your superpower is, then you're going to look at other people and wish, oh, I wished I was clairvoyant. I wished I was clairaudient, ignoring the fact that you have one of the most heightened senses of clairsentience or clairscent. And you can smell when people come in the room what mood they're in. My 4-year-old granddaughter and my 8-year-old grandson, I just found out they were hiding this from me, and I did not know from spirit because it wasn't time. But my daughter said, I need to talk to you about Evie because Evie is talking to souls. So here's an interesting part. She's 4. My grandson is 8, and he sees color around people, and he says it's either blue or it's red, and blue is good and red is bad. And that's very simple. Now, Ryder came in at 2 months old. Yannicka and I was in a car lot because my daughter was trying to test drive. She didn't want to take the car seat in and out. And Ryder does this. He looks around the room at the different people. He goes back to the first woman and does like this. He's reading her. And I went, oh, he's clairsentience. Yeah, he's got that ability to read people. At 18 months, he was still doing it. I may be holding him on my hip and he's doing the guy in the store like this. And I said, don't do that. That makes people upset. It makes them feel self-conscious. You can hide behind my leg and read people. You've got that ability. So what would it feel like for you to know that I'm saying as an intuitive, and I've dealt with thousands and thousands of clients and set them free and brought them home to who they really are. What would it feel like for you if you really studied the Clairs and then you had an intuitive to tell you this is your top 3? This one comes through first, this one comes through second, this one comes through third. What happened with Evie was we were playing hi-ho cherry-o while Milo, the little 9-month-old, was asleep and we're outside. And I said, talk to me about you talking to souls. And she just matter of factly, as she's still playing the game, she doesn't even look up at me. I'm like very close to her and going, I'm dying to know what you're experiencing. She said, oh, well, I can just talk to souls, but you. And I said, what does my soul look like? She said, it's really big because you're really big. But you have the ability to talk to them and see them and communicate with them. I can only talk to them. So you see, in our innocence, and it's good that you brought that up, Yannicka, about our childhood. In our childhoods, we're more susceptible to using those. But when you are old souls, then your senses are heightened and they're beyond what is normal. And there are commonalities with that. And one of them typically is that nobody in your family is like you and ever has been. So you're a misfit. And that was me. Nobody in my family has this ability or ever has that I met. Isn't that wild?
This is very helpful. I'm curious. What is your strongest ability?
Mine have kind of meshed. So I'm going to start with the weakest, which is clairscent. In the physical realm, I've had so many nose surgeries, I can't smell. And you see my nose is even crooked, even though they've done surgery. I can't smell, but if I need to smell, I smell. So when I smell, when I'm in session, I have to say, what is this smell? Oh, this is lavender. This is this tree. This is this bird. This is this food. Because I haven't been smelling since I was 11. A tooth developed in the middle of my nasal cavity. So the others, the smell is the weakest. The taste is next to the weakest. And the top three all are equal. Clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience. If you don't realize that you feel everything as a highly developed, highly sensitive empath, let me tell you what those ramifications are. For me, I will experience, if a client asks me a question, or if I'm doing an energy session, whether it's on the phone or it's in person, I am feeling as an empath what goes on inside the body. So I have felt the choking of the noose around the neck. I've felt the heart attack. I've felt the gunshot wound. I felt just going to sleep and in old age. So as an empath who is clairsentience, if you don't realize that, then you may be using your abilities to be in a codependent state because you feel people and you don't know what is your lane and what is theirs. So you can actually jump. Okay, since I know this and I feel this and I know that you're already hurting. I used to feel people hurting before they even cried, and it could be up to 15 minutes. And I'm like, why am I crying? Because as an empath, I could feel them. But there was one day that was really profound, and I was learning the difference because I had to learn this in stages, Yannicka. And I had a client that was coming within an hour. And I usually get ready at the last minute, put on the lipstick at the last minute. And then because she was local, she came into my house. About an hour before, I'm drying my hair, and all of a sudden my tongue started swelling. And I just put down the dryer and I'm looking in the mirror. What is my tongue doing? And it was swelling 1 inch to 1.5 inches, and it was fluctuating. And so I just read, and this is when you know who you are and you know what your abilities are and you know what you're picking up and you're going to use it, but not by being codependent. You're using it for information only. So as I noticed this, I said, okay, I'm going to pay attention to what it feels like. Oh, I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like my tongue is going to block my airway. Oh my God, that's how she feels. All right, thank you. I let it go. I just used it to identify. This is how the top 5 clairs become your superpowers. If you use hearing and other people in the room are not hearing what you're hearing, you have a superpower. If you see and you're clairvoyant, you may see somebody's body movement or their eyes or where they go or how they eat and whether or not it is their foodie or not, by just using the physical senses that are also developing your clairvoyance. Do you see what I'm saying? So what happened was that when that client came in the door, she had her hand behind her back. And I just looked at her and I said, Kathy, you do not have to say a word, sweetheart. You don't have to speak. I just experienced 45 minutes ago what you experienced. Can I describe it for you before we even get started? And she said, yes. And I said, you feel a choking sensation and you can't speak and you feel like you can't breathe when your tongue swells exactly 1 to 1.5 inches. And she broke, Yannicka, and she started crying and she pulled what was hiding behind her back. And it was a pad for her to write on and erase. It was one of those boards. And I said, put it down. You don't need to speak. I've got you.
To watch the full video, click the link below, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel.
Resto maliata.